Ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Rise Urban Nation. I'm excited to begin 2024 with this discussion, wealth building and real estate. I got my brother from another mother, Christopher J. Price. That name even sounds like money. It sounds like it's dripping money. I don't know. Like you should have been an actor, a superstar, or something in your past life. How are you today, sir? And where are you joining us from? I don't even know where you're at in the
Man,
world.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share on the platform today. I am joining you from White Plains, New York. This is a beautiful suburb right outside of New York City, about 30 minutes outside of New York City to be exact. And, we've been set up here for a few years and we just absolutely love it.
Nice, nice. I was actually born in New York, upper state, Rochester, New York. I don't know if you know where that's at,
I know what
but
that's like. Yeah.
yeah, born up there, then raised in DC. Now I'm out here in California. So, um, I was just before we had hit record, I was just telling, we was talking about our wives. By the way, shout out to your wife for setting you right for Christmas. Got the mic and the camera. I tell him how nice his mic sound. Give a shout out to the wife real quick because she did you good. She's a wealth builder right there. You gotta keep her.
That's right, man. Shout out to my wife, Allison Price, for hooking me up with the new microphone, the new camera coming in crystal clear. Got the audio clear. Everything's great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, she might put me out of business single handedly the way she hooking you up. I might have to like step my game up here. But you know, before we dive into, because this topic that we diving into, I told myself and my wife like, yo, I got to get more into this year and really learn this because I be watching Earn Your Leisure and my boy David Shands over there at Social Proof Podcast, and they be having these guys on that be talking about all this passive income in real estate. And I was like, man, I gotta learn how to do this because I don't want to stay working for the rest of my life. So, so I'm glad that you're on now. But I'm curious because I read your bio and so forth, and I saw that you went from being a pharmaceutical executive turned real estate investment. And can you tell me a little bit about your background? What sparked the interest in real estate? How does one go from pharmaceutical to real estate? I like break that down for me.
Ax- ac- Absolutely, I'll do that. And in fact, what I tell people is that I'm actually still on that journey. I'm on my own journey, if you will, to financial freedom. And what I like to tell people is that I'm a pharmaceutical executive by day. So I get a chance to make an impact in the lives of patients by bringing them life-saving medications. But by night, I'm a real estate investor. And I get to help others build wealth through passive real estate investing. And my journey is one that's probably very similar to other people who've been out there looking for their own path. And my story starts where my wife and I, we coming up, we learn the same things that everyone else has learned. Hey, look, Chris, you gotta go to school, and when you go to
Mm-hmm.
school, you gotta and you get out of school, you gotta make sure you get out and you get a good job. And by the way, when you get
Mm-hmm.
that good job, you need to make sure that that job has benefits, that has a 401k, that has a pension, so on and so forth. And we followed that playbook like everyone else does, and we went down that path thinking to ourselves, look, this is the tried and true way of what we need to do in order to, build wealth and save our way essentially to prosperity. But we
Mm-hmm.
learned, as did many other people, that during that time, we learned, the first time around in 2008, where we watched, after the financial crisis happened back then, we watched
Mm-hmm.
everything come crumbling down. So a lot of our savings that we had in our 401ks and IRAs, got wiped out, and then we only to have to go back and build it back up. And in that time, some we had some major life events like
Okay.
hey, we bought, in that time we had bought our first condo, which I'll circle back to in a little bit. And then also fast forward down the road, from about 2006 to 2010, 11, we weren't really even thinking about any of this real estate investing stuff,
Mhm.
except for, it's, what everyone else sees on HGTV. You can go flip a house, you can do this,
Mhm.
you can do that. And we really did not pay it any mind at all until we were getting ready to start our family. And we were going
Yeah.
to start we're going to start our family, continue to build successful careers as corporate professionals, myself in the
Mhm.
pharmaceutical industry, my wife in the apparel and fashion business. We decided to, get ready to start our family in and around 2011, 2012. And it was at that moment we were like, okay, well, since we're starting our family, we want to be able to move up in our home. And we recognized at that point in time that we in fact could not, sell our condo that we were in without selling it for a loss. And so instead of selling it,
Mm.
we decided to hold on to it, right? And so
Mhm.
we held on to it, but we had bought our first single family home. That was our home that we were going to raise our family. And
Yeah, hold
when
on.
we,
So
oh yeah,
I want to go back onto the timelines here because cuz I definitely resonate with your story because the same thing was happened to me cuz we bought our condo probably like 5 years ago.
hmm
And this is when we were starting our family as well. I had a great career, did all the route that my parents told us because I come from Nigerian parents who were like, "My friend, study your books." Did and bless their heart. That's all they knew, right?
yeah.
And that's really what helped us strive. But so 5 years ago, bought my condo. When did you buy your condo? Give me
We
like
bought our
the
condo in
timeline.
2006. 2006, we bought our. So
2006.
we bought ours
Oh,
at the height of the market. If you can
yeah.
imagine, when the real estate was going wild and crazy, we bought, 100% all cash. Excuse me, all 100% finance deal. Got into
Hmm.
that, and we thought we were riding high. But then again, like I said, once the financial crisis took place, a lot of
Nah.
wiped out a lot of equity. And so if we had to sell it at that, fast forward from 2006 to 2012, when we were looking to start our family,
Hmm.
that at that point in time, we would have sold. If we sold, we would have sold at a loss. So we
Nah.
decided to not sell it, and we decided to turn that property into a rental. and
Okay.
and what happened from that point in time was that, we were able to rent that place easily. It's in a great location. It close to the train station, had great amenities around it, and we noticed that, hey, we could turn that into a rental. And so we rented that for many years, from 2012 up until about 2017. So about 4 or 5 years, we
Hmm.
rented that property out with no issues at all, for the most part, except for, a couple of bad tenants here and there, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. But what we recognized when we did that was like, hey, we're actually getting some income from this property. We're renting it out relatively easy after the mortgage is paid, after all the expenses are paid on that property. We're actually
Hmm.
collecting a couple $100, a few $100 a month of cash flow that's going into our bank account. This is actually
Hmm.
pretty nice. And so we thought a lot about that, but we really started to get strategic about it around 2018, when we're like, "Oh, okay, now we've gone through this financial crisis where we've recovered some things, but we really want some more stability in our
Hmm.
income. We want to be able to, have some more variability in our income, or variety in our income as well." And what I mean by that is, we didn't want to just rely purely on our jobs, our W-2 jobs. And we were looking for
Hmm.
different ways to be able to do that, building some successful careers. We were
Hmm.
looking at many different things. One of those things we looked at was looking at potentially buying businesses. Maybe we can invest in a franchise like UPS or
Hmm.
Subway or
Yeah.
something like that. Or we could. What also came about around the same time is that we were doing a lot of research and listening to podcasts and listening to books, and we stumbled upon real estate investing, and then that's what entered that's what led us on our journey where we are today around real estate investing, which I'll tell you more about.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I mean that's how I got. my knowledge of real estate investing. So my course was a little different from yours, just because I'm assuming when you first bought that condo, that was around when they had all those crazy loans going out, and then the after that crash and a lot of people lost their homes, the finance industry restructured how these loans could be done. So about the time I bought, that's why we had all them PMIs and all that stuff on the loan. But I remember we bought at a time when, especially here in California, the housing market was hard. It was like it was so hard for us to get into this first condo, and I remember being mad because I thought, like, man, I ain't paying no 400,000 for no condo when I could go get me a house in Atlanta.
Exactly. Exactly.
But my wife and the realtor convinced me to do in a very nice area, just like yours, with amenities and so forth. And within probably like 6 months of being in that property, we had equity, like easily 5 to 6K in equity. I was like, ooh, okay, this is nice. Fast forward, we went 2 years later, and then in the pandemic, we was able to refi down to a 2%
Nice.
interest. And so
Nice.
I was like, dang. So then by that time, our mortgage was cheaper than most people's rent. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I don't think we ever gonna leave this spot.
Oh yeah. That,
and,
beautiful,
and then
man.
so that
That's beautiful.
yeah. Yeah, and so that's how that started to spark in my mind, because seeing all these podcasts and so forth, and seeing how people do um investing in real estate to kind of build passive income. And for many of our listeners, just like me, I'm curious about the passive real estate investing side. So can you explain what it is and how it can be a game changer for wealth building?
Absolutely. So what your scenario is very similar to mine and similar to many people out there. But like you, when in that 2018 time period when I mentioned before, in addition to learning about other ways that we could potentially invest and build our wealth, we also started learning a lot about real estate. So we one of the pivotal books that I read at that point in time, where that real estate, where I knew at that point in time that real estate was going to be the game changer for us. It was a book, the purple book that they talk about, called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Mm,
And when
that's a
I
good
read
book.
that book right there opened my mind up to, hey, real estate investing is what we need to be focused on. It really locked me in. And at the same time, immediately after reading that book, I read his follow-on book called The Cash Flow Quadrant, which talked about, all of the different assets and what side of the equation, essentially, of the quadrant that we want to be in. We don't want to be in the employee and self-employed quadrant. We want to be in the business owner and investor quadrant. So at that time in 2018, and my mind was open up, and at that, and then I was also doing a lot of reading on reading and listening to podcasts. I was attending meetups, and between the years of 2018 to 2019, early 2020, before the pandemic, I really got active in learning about more about real estate investing, focusing on initially. I was focusing on the idea of passive real estate investing through single family turnkey investing. And what turnkey
Mm,
investing essentially is imagine there are essentially house flippers that have large operations in certain some of the markets throughout the country. And what
mhm,
they're doing is they are buying these homes, they're fixing them up, and through renovations, they put a tenant in that home, and then they sell that home to investors like me and you to then buy that asset, and then they manage the property for us, and then after all the expenses are paid, the cash flow comes to us. And that was a strategy where I had built out a whole spreadsheet for me and my wife around our getting what we
mhm.
called and what we knew as our financial freedom number. And that financial
Right.
freedom number, what it told us at the end is that, hey, We need a whole lot of single family homes and a whole lot of time on our hands to be able to achieve our financial freedom number. Is there a way that we can get there faster? And at the same time that I was learning about investing in turnkey single family rentals, I was also learning about investing in passive real estate syndications through, through commercial multifamily properties. And commercial multifamily is essentially anything that is 5 units and up is commercial. But in our case, we're focusing on large assets, 50 units and up, in terms of what we invested in. And it was at that point in time, someone said to me, hey, I was listening to a podcast and the person was saying, hey, look, you don't need to go from investing in single family and graduate to investing in multifamily. You can go straight into investing into multifamily. I was like, that is actually interesting, and I have been thinking all along that, yeah, multifamily is something I have to grow up into, and in fact it wasn't. You can invest passively in other people's deals, and the way that that works is that essentially you have operators that will bring professional real estate investors that will bring you deals. They will bring opportunities to you for you to be able to evaluate. And you can evaluate those deals just as if you were evaluating your own deal that was a single
Mm-hmm.
family home. And essentially once you've done that, you can then go ahead and then invest passively in that. And what I would like to do for you in the audience, if I could, is really
Mm-hmm.
just break it down so that you can understand really what the syndication is, because a lot of people may get a little bit confused about what this is, but it really is pretty straightforward. So we were just talking about, we see all the different TV shows on television about fixing and flipping, but think
Mm-hmm.
about a real estate syndication essentially as a fix and flip, but just at a much larger scale. You are looking at, instead of fixing and flipping one door, these apartment building owners and operators, they are actually acquiring properties, 100-unit properties, and that
Mm-hmm.
property needs a little TLC, just like that single family home. Maybe it's been poorly operated. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it needs to have some improvements to the parking lot or to the amenities of the property. Maybe it has some old carpeting and some other interior fixtures that need to be addressed, etc. They will
Mm-hmm.
look at that, find the right price to purchase that property at. Once the property is purchased, then they're just going to they're going to put together their business plan to be able to renovate that property and bring it up to the comparable standards of all of the assets that are in that market, so that they can then charge the comparable rent to what is being charged in the market already. They are looking to be able to bring in other income through other enhancements to the property. And but what happens is that us as passive investors, we get a chance to look at that opportunity, and if it's something that we want to invest in, then we get to invest passively in that
Mm-hmm.
deal, and we get to take advantage of all the benefits of investing in real estate, but we don't have to be hands on at all.
Yeah. I so there's so much to unpack there, but let me. I want to appreciate something that you said earlier on, in your segues, and that you and your wife sat down and um r- figured out what your financial freedom number is, right?
Yep.
And that's so important, and I don't think a lot of the folks, especially in our community, really sit down to understand that. People like hustle, 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 hustle hard, like, but like, what are you hustling for, right? Like, what is your number? Because and that's so important because everybody has different ideas of what that looks like to them. So like, for one couple, maybe 5 doors is enough. For another couple, the lifestyle they want to live, 10 doors might be it. And that depends on what do you need to be financially free, right?
That's right.
Um, and then once you get clarity on that, you can strategically start to move in a way that's meaningful and purposeful, and that really fulfills the end goal. The now I'm thinking about this, and most people that look like me and you, we don't just have access to people who are doing these type of deals. So like, I'm curious to know, like, how do you, one, find or link or associate yourself with the individuals that go out and get these deals so that you could be in that network and be in those conversations. And I'm imagining this takes a lot of money. The like on a average, like if I was to go in on a deal, like how much does that cost me to go in on a deal, um, on a multi-unit?
Yeah, all great questions. And so what I like to tell passive investors, first of all, just great questions. I want to talk just briefly about the financial freedom number. This was actually something that I learned through different communities and masterminds that I was attending as I continued to immerse myself in learning about real estate investing. I really was focused on how do we achieve financial freedom. Like you said, our mindset and everything that we're programmed to do is to hustle and grind, and that's just how it has to be. And then one day, when we're 65 and a half or whatever that magic number is, we'll be able to retire, and then we can live our life. Then we can do all
Mhm,
the fun traveling that we can do. Then we can go out and we can have the nice cars and this, that, and the other thing that we want. But what we were stuck on was that we were not interested in that traditional idea of financial freedom. Who says we're going to make it to that day anyway? And I know I'm not trying to sound alarmist or dramatic or anything, but
mhm,
I think it's important for us to be mindful of the fact we have to live right now. And part of that living right now means that the faster that we can achieve financial freedom, we can live life on our terms. We don't have anyone dictating to us, when we can take vacation, where we can go, how many times we can go. We can have control over what we want to do and when we want to do it. So I wanted to make sure that I addressed that point, because
yeah,
that was something that, when you get into this, having a why is something very key. When it comes
mhm,
to your point about, how do you, get into these things, how do you even become aware of opportunities anyway? I tell
mhm,
people, one of the great ways that I became aware of this, beyond the podcast aspect of it, was attending meetups. I was
mhm,
attending several meetups at the time, and in those meetups, whether they were in-person meetups or virtual meetups throughout the pandemic, what I was able to do was meet with a lot of operators, meet with folks who were doing this full time, and that they were bringing
yeah.
deals and had a track record of experience.
So hold up. You telling me that there are meetups for these different things, and they just like publicly announce somewhere. You just got to look for them and just meet up.
No, so at meetups, at meetups, what you're gonna find is you may find people that do real estate syndications, and they
Mm,
may talk about what they're doing. And most of the meetups are not intended to pitch anyone deals or sell anything. That's not the intent of it. But the meetups oftentimes are to be able to educate people on what is so common, that in place that we just don't know about it, which is real
mm,
estate syndications. And there have been so many times where I've had so many conversations now with investors where they've had no idea that this was a way that they could invest into real estate. And so the amount of education that goes on is tremendous. But the wealthy people have been investing in these ways, and these private access exclusive deals for so long. And so now, as more education is getting out there, and more and more people are starting to become aware of it and be able
mhm.
to tap in. But to
Yeah.
your point about being able to expand this and help people, and help people become aware of that. But beyond being able to go to meetups, whether live meetups or virtual meetups, and meet operators and syndicators out there, you'll also there are also real estate investor conferences that where people put these types of events on. And so you're things like the platform that you have right now, where we're sharing, people may say, hey, that sounds really interesting to me. I love the idea of investing in real estate, but I don't love the idea of having to be hands on. I would love to be passive. Maybe that's an opportunity for
Mhm,
me to reach out to someone like Chris, as an example. So those are the types of things, the different ways that people become aware of that. The last
mhm,
point that you brought up about the cost of getting in. Yes, there is a financial commitment to being able to get into to these deals. And oftentimes, what the financial commitment is is around a $50,000, 50,000 minimum investment. And that minimum investment, what I tell investors is that in addition to when you make that investment, not only are you investing passively and you're being able to leverage the knowledge and expertise of the operator and the team that you're investing with, those people who you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and trust, you're also able to bring in passive income. So that passive income in the form of the cash flow from the property. So just like that fix and flip home that we referred to earlier, when that person is renting that asset out, they're getting income from the property. The same thing is happening at this multifamily property, but just at a much larger scale. In addition to the cash flow, you're also getting tax benefits. You're getting tax
Mm-hmm.
benefits in the form of depreciation and passive losses that can offset your passive gains. You're getting
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity for just like when these properties are well bought and they're bought in great markets. You talked about it earlier, from when you bought your home, you saw some equity appreciate, and because that home appreciated in value from the time that you bought it to the time to just a few months later, it had appreciated in value. The same concept in the multifamily syndication space works, and again, it's just at a much larger scale, where we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about a 100-unit apartment complex in Houston, Texas, that we bought properly. We bought it below market, for example. Now we started to execute a business plan that's going to improve the property by increasing the income and reducing the expenses, but all the while we have the residents that are living at that complex paying down the mortgage while the property continues to appreciate in value over time also. And so then the last thing I like to tell people about this in terms of passive investing is that they get a chance to take advantage of the appreciation, and the from the sales proceeds. So what I mean by that is that when we sell the property at the end of the hold, typically that hold of a property is anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Sometimes it may be a little longer, but generally the sweet spot of the deals that we look at is 3 to 5 years. And after that 3 to 5 years, there's typically what's called an exit. That exit will you the as all of the passive investors will essentially be able to double their money in that 5 year time frame. So that 50K that we talked about, that 50K turns into 100K. That's your initial $50,000 that you put into the investment, and in addition to that, you get an additional $50,000 in the form of the cash flows that you receive throughout the life of the deal, plus the equity multiple from the your proportional share of the sales proceeds of the property. So that's big picture how this works, and I want to definitely answer any questions that you have.
No, this is beautiful. And I realized when you were discussing this, you threw some new terms out that were new terms for me, because you have operators, you have passive investors, and there was another term you mentioned.
Oh,
Ah,
syndicators, yeah.
indicators. Like
Yeah.
what's the difference between those different roles?
Yeah, it's really the way that real estate. It's a great question. The way that real estate syndication works is really there are two key players in this whole game, if you will. There are the syndicators, but they're also known as operators or general partners. So general partners, these are the GPs. These are the people who are finding the deal. They are analyzing the deal, doing all the underwriting. They're creating the business plan. They are raising capital from private investors. They are executing the business plan, keeping the passive investors informed. All of those types of things are the things that the general partners do. That's the group, or
Mm-hmm.
the operators. Those are the key players they're bringing us as passive investors the opportunity. The passive investors are also known as limited partners in these types of opportunities. Limited means that they are simply providing capital to the deal, but they don't have a say on what is on the structure of the deal. They don't have a say on, what paint colors are they going to use for, the walls when they renovate it, or what company are they going to use to manage the property once we acquire it. What are, all those other ins and outs. When you're a limited partner or a passive investor, you are entirely hands off, and you are relying
Mhm.
on the expertise of those operators or the syndicators that are, or general partners. Just to, again, to link those names together, they're the
Yeah,
people that are making those decisions, and we're relying on their expertise to be able to get all of that done.
we're relying on their expertise. Go ahead.
Yes, we're relying on their expertise to get all of that done, and so it's really important that we are that when as a passive investor, that you are investing alongside of them, and then you're vetting that operator. Do they have experience in this type of asset? What is their track record? How many deals have they closed on? How many deals have exited? Meaning how many deals have sold off, or they've completed their business plan? Did they meet their what's known as the pro forma, meaning what they had projected that investment to be? Did they did they
Mm-hmm.
achieve those returns, or did they fall short of those returns, or did they exceed them? You want to know those things when as a passive investor and you're getting involved in these deals. You want to be able to have conversations with the operator that you're talking with before you invest with them, to get a chance to know about them. Hey, maybe you want to talk to some references, those types of things. Those are the types of things that, as passive investors, you want to be able to do. I
Yeah.
also talk to passive investors and helping them make sure, you want to be able to make sure that you are, once you've gotten through investing or knowing who you're investing with, because like and trust them, then you're
Mm-hmm.
getting to the point of, hey, what is this asset in line with the type of asset that I want to invest in? For example,
Mm-hmm.
am I into, do I want to focus on value add multifamily? Do I
Mm-hmm.
want to focus on what markets do I want to focus on? Do I want to focus on tried and true markets like Atlanta, Georgia, like Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Nashville? Or do I want to maybe speculate and go out to Las Vegas, Nevada? Or maybe I want to go to, maybe I like New York.
Mm-hmm.
All of those different types of things. People want to be able to work through those things, because once they've been able to do that, then they'll be able to isolate or evaluate opportunities as they come across their desk, to be able to determine which type of opportunities they want to invest in versus others.
Yeah, I love this. So I want to get into some really quick actionable advice for aspiring investors. Like, if I have somebody who's really eager to start real estate investing, and let's say, I hear this, I hear you talking, you got me intrigued. I'm making 80K a year. I'm living comfortable. I don't my salary takes care of most of my expenses, and I still have extra over left in the bank. And I want to start dipping my feet into, what's some actionable steps that you would recommend?
It's a great question, because I asked myself the same thing. So I went from being a passive investor to someone who just wanted to be passive, to then I got passionate about, hey, how do I help people, get actively involved in this? So for people that want to passively invest, I encourage them, listen to podcasts, read some books. There's a great book out there, by a person named Michael Blanc, and it's called Financial Freedom with Real Estate Investing. That is a great book, that's called, also known as the Yellow Book. Reading these books, listening to podcasts, going to meetups. You can go on to meetup.com and find a number of different real estate investor clubs or meetups in your area, where there may be syndicators out there where you can begin networking with them and
Hmm.
get yourself immersed in this process.
I love that. So we can't lead a podcast without you talk about your current projects, and I know you're doing Red Fox Multifamily. And so tell us a little bit about that and your goals moving forward.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So Red Fox Multifamily, what we do is, we partner with the best operators in the country, and we bring great real estate opportunities to investors, and we help essentially we help passive investors invest passively in real estate investing deals, and they take advantage of all of the benefits of real estate investing that we were talking about before: the cash flows, the tax benefits, the appreciation from the real estate.
Mhm.
But they get to be completely hands off. And our process is that we get to curate these deals that from our network of operators that we have in the best markets in the country, and then what we get a chance to evaluate those deals. And only after we've vetted the deals, and vetted the operators, do we then partner with them and bring those opportunities to our investors so that they can evaluate them and invest passively in those deals. And yes, we are focused on many different opportunities. We just had recently, and I can talk about this now, we just recently closed on a deal in Houston, Texas, with a group that we're affiliated with, that we're connected with. This was a three property portfolio of 666 units, and
Woo!
of assets, and a great market in Houston, Texas. And
Let's
we were
go.
able to successfully, yes, man, get many of our investors into this deal so that they can passively invest in it and get the chance to take advantage of real estate. So it's just a beautiful thing that we're able to do, and I'm so grateful that we're able to help people invest passively so that they can build that generational wealth that they're looking for to pass on to their families.
I love that. Houston, Texas, let's go. Beyonce and all of and I got a big Niger community out there.
That's
All
right.
my Nigerians out there supporting in Houston, that support the podcast. We appreciate you. So I see y'all doing things. I might have to take my money to Houston so I can get on the train with all them boys from Houston, and make sure I make that money grow. Chris, man, this has been enlightening and truly inspirational. Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more and perhaps get involved in real estate investing?
Oh man, well, thank you again so much for allowing me to share in your platform, and just share this important message, especially in our community. There's one thing that I like to tell people is that people have been investing in real estate, and it is essential need for people. For millennia before us and millennia after us, it will always be a need, and we need to be in this space, and because this is an area that we can really build our wealth, and build our wealth
Mhm.
passively, and build that generational wealth that we know we need in our community. So people can reach me. They can go onto our website, redfoxmultifamily.com. You, in fact, for the listeners, when you go there and under the learn section, there's a free webinar that you'll be able to access and learn more about passive investing from the information that I share with you today. And then also, if you want, I love to engage with people. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, Christopher Price. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. We can exchange and make sure that we can connect and talk offline a little bit if you prefer to do that. But I just really am so appreciative of the opportunity to connect and grow, and I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Man, I love this. You just gave us $1 million worth of game just now. And then you said go to the website and click on the webinar to get you some more info. That's love right there. I appreciate
Yes,
you, Chris.
yes.
That's a true servant leader right there. We appreciate you. We salute you, brother, for everything that you're doing. Thanks for sharing your incredible journey and your insights with us. And to our listeners, don't worry. I'm gonna put all the links and all the connects that he has in there in the show notes. So if you driving and you ripping and running and you couldn't write it down, don't worry. Just go into the show notes of the podcast. It'll be there. And make sure you connect with my guy Chris and start the path to financial freedom that's within you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. I don't know where the button will be at this episode. Keep rising at Rise Urban Nation. And until the next time, keep pushing those boundaries, rewriting your narratives. And thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.